Hey there, it's Dave Penyuk of Revenue.com, and today's tip is all around the advantages and why you might use RRSP mortgages. And I did another video on basically the 7 steps to how to do an RRSP mortgage as a borrower. So you're borrowing from somebody else that has RRSP funds. In this video, I want to just quickly talk about kind of the advantages and when you would use them, and then talk a little bit about the repayment terms. So first of all, very quickly, what is an RRSP mortgage? Well, basically, it's exactly what it sounds like. Somebody has RRSP funds, you borrow from that individual, you register those RRSP funds as a mortgage on one of your properties. Could be your primary residence, could be one of your investment properties, or it could be to buy a property and it could be the mortgage. That's basically kind of how it works. You borrow from somebody, it has to be a self-directed RRSP account, and you use those funds to buy the property, to renovate the property, do all sorts of different fun things. So that's kind of why you would use it. Now, RRSP mortgages can be extremely advantageous for both a lender and for yourself in situations like doing a renovation. So say you have a property, and say it's an investment property, and you bought it a few years ago, and you want to spend $40,000 or $50,000 adding a legal suite. Well, rather than going back to the bank and refinancing, because maybe you can't qualify for refinancing, or you just don't like all the hoops you have to jump through, but you have lots of equity in that property. So say it's worth $200,000 today, and you only have a $100,000 first mortgage in place on that property. Well, I can go to Bob, who happens to have $50,000 in his RRSP account, and he's sick and tired of not making any money. In fact, he's been losing money in his RRSP account, and he says, gee, you know, I'd love to lend you some money. What kind of interest rate can I get on that? Well, if you're going to register it as a second mortgage, so it's now going to be behind the first mortgage because you already have a mortgage in place. Remember, I said it's $100,000. You borrow Bob's RRSP funds, register that as a second mortgage, so it's in second place behind the first mortgage for $50,000. You now have $150,000 in total mortgages against the $200,000 property. Now, if you're spending that $50,000 to add a legal suite, it's probably going to be worth much more than $200,000. It might be worth $250,000 after the work is all done. So you have a fairly low loan-to-value ratio, which is fantastic. So one thing that you want to talk to Bob about is your interest rate and your terms and the repayment terms. And RRSP mortgages are fantastic, absolutely fantastic for being flexible, because it's between you and Bob, really, in terms of what sort of interest rate you're going to pay him, when you're going to pay him. And whatever you pay him goes directly to his RRSP account. It doesn't go to Bob. You know, you don't pay him back X interest on that $50,000. It goes right into his RRSP account. So it stays registered, so he's not taxed on it until he pulls the money out from his RRSP account whenever he does that down the road. So interest rates can really vary as a second mortgage, like the example I gave you, somewhere between 6-ish and 12-13%, depending on the risk. How high a loan to value do you have on the mortgage? When do you want to pay them back? Is it a long term? Is it a short term? The kind of standard RRSP mortgage is kind of in that 6 months to 1 to 2 year kind of range. Usually it's interest only, so it's a little cheaper. And in many cases, you can delay it and only make one annual payment per year, which is fantastic. So it helps you as an investor to keep your monthly cash flow in check. You just have to make sure that you can make that payment at the end of the year to pay Bob for those $50,000 you borrowed. So hopefully that makes some sense for you. It's a very complicated topic when I'm zipping through it, but it's if you actually get Greg Habstrett's book, The RRSP Secret, fantastic book, walks you all the way through it, and also watch my other video that quickly goes through as well. So hopefully that helps you out around RRSP mortgages. Until next time.